when you're really ambitious and you want that growth, you want to see those numbers. Like it's easy to just get impatient and like get distracted, but like just staying focused and like staying patient, I think is definitely a big reminder for me right now. And also just working on everything that you're saying, delegating, building the team, doing what I love doing, just kind of continuing to stack on every piece of the business, continuing to improve.
Welcome to the Partners Podcast, where you get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to entrepreneurs who are relentlessly building real, profitable companies. Join us as we ask them the hard questions so you can take away the mindset, strategy, and tactics that launch them to success. Welcome to another episode of the Partners Podcast, joined by Jonah here today of Rev Productions. He is an absolute legend. You're just coming out of college and you're already at $50,000 a month. Why don't we just start off with a quick intro? How'd you get into this and like where are you guys at now?
Yeah, so I got started with videography like 8 years ago. I was literally in 8th grade and we had a project all year long that we had to basically focus on one thing for the whole year. And I chose photography first. And I did that for the whole year. I loved it. I was doing landscape photos. And then all throughout high school, I did film. I was doing freelance, just anything I could do to make money, weddings, portraits, like pretty much anything. And I sold my prints of like landscape greeting cards door to door. And that's how I made my first money to save up and buy my camera and go on my first few photography trips, which is door to door sales with my packs of greeting cards. But I did film all throughout high school, film production major in college. And then my sophomore year of college, I met my co-founder, Ismail, and we immediately hit it off. We both wanted to start a company and make money doing videos. We didn't really know what was possible, but we just kind of started reaching out to realtors because I heard about real estate from some YouTube video, and it kind of just went from there.
Awesome. And now, how big is the team? You guys are crushing it out there. I see all this content being put out. How many team members are you at, and like what's the day-to-day look like? How many shoots are you doing in a busy week?
Yeah, so right now we've got about 12 people on the team total. We have one full-time photographer, 4 part-time photographers, and then I also still shoot a bit. And then we've got 3 full-time editors, full-time project manager, full-time sales guy, me and my co-founder, of course, and then a VA. So roughly 12 people. Today is a fairly busy day, so I think we have about 7 shoots, but typically in a week we're doing like 15 to 20 orders a week right now, and about 40, 45, hopefully 50K this month.
I love it. Already 50K, and you're still in college, right? You're graduating like soon?
I am, yeah. I'm graduating in 6 weeks, so hopefully we can hit that 50K a month before I graduate.
You gotta give us some free game. How do you do all of that in college? Like, isn't college a full-time job itself?
I mean, honestly, with my major, it's lighter because it's film production. I'm not like an engineering or STEM major or something. But it all comes down to just balancing your time and also priorities. Like I have my priorities. Work comes first. School definitely comes second. And you do have to make sacrifices. Like for me, I have sacrificed, some social aspects or just like time for myself. But it kind of comes down to prioritizing what you want to do. And also just managing your time really well. Like I am very efficient with my time. And I take like even my like rest very like seriously. Like I won't just, scroll my phone, but I'll like be at the gym or go for a walk or like rest up quicker than it would take most people. So just like being very smart with your time.
I love it. And you're all in on your agency. I've seen you continually reinvest in your business, make key hires, invest in Tonimo before it was even a good fit. Like you guys were like way too small for Tonimo because at that point we were not taking on like agency owners that were just started, but you said, hey, we want it anyways. Like you guys have always been ahead of the curve when it comes to, hey, what is next? What is the best thing we can do for our agency? Appreciate you and your partner coming out to Miami as well as Austin and to our masterminds. It was really fun meeting you. It's another vibe there. And also for you to be part of ACRE Partner. And I wanted to do something special for our audience today. Normally these are behind the scenes consults and they're one-on-one, they're private, they're exclusive, they're expensive. But today we're going to do one for free for the greater public, other agency owners that might want to just peer behind the scenes of what a consult looks like and gain a better understanding of how they can also grow their business if they find themselves in a situation like your own. And so I know you have probably a list of questions, but let's start off with your situation. Where are you at with the agency, and what are some of the bigger challenges that you're facing? And then maybe we can break down, you know, the next steps and also answer any of your questions.
Yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, just thank you for, hopping on and for your time and everything, and also for all your support with ACRE. As you know, I'm a big fan of ACRE. It's been amazing. It's helped us grow a lot. Um, but right now, uh, we've been kind of in an interesting place the last like 4 or 5 months because we've been retooling our product a lot and really just focusing on improving our product and improving our client experience. To give you some context, the very first year, 2023 in business, we did 30,000 revenue. The next year was 300. So it was like literally a 10x exactly year over year. And this year will, at least be a 2 or 3x from last year. So we grew really quickly, especially for just being so new and not really knowing like, this is our first business. So we focused really heavily on sales and marketing in the beginning. And I think although we learned a lot of great skills and it helped us grow a lot, we also suffered from not working on our product as much as we should have and under or over promising and under delivering. And that kind of shot us in the foot a bit with some big clients. And we had to really go back and rework our product a lot. So that's what we've been focusing on the last 4 or 5 months. How do we improve our photos? How do we improve our videos? How do we improve our turnaround time? How do we hire and train better people in the team? So it's not just me and our one guy, our full time guy, Mark, who's amazing. We want it to not just be us shooting luxury properties and being able to fulfill all, for all of our clients, but also the newer guys and the whole team so we can just have more consistency and bandwidth. So that's been a really big focus, and that's still a struggle for us. Just that consistency. I feel like there's small things that happen on a day to day with clients, whether it's just small issues with photo delivery or turnaround times or small things that I think are still holding us back from really getting to that next level. And so yeah, that's part of what I'd love to talk with you today about. But I think part of it's systems, part of it's training, and just kind of overall having a super just solid set of systems and SOPs and all of that in place so things don't slip through the cracks.
Yeah, of course. So I guess let's break it down one challenge at a time. Do you know your biggest bottleneck right now? Do you know where the leak is in your bucket in terms of like not being able to be at that 7-star experience, like always crushing, killing it? Is it, I know, we talked about your video editor being, a challenge and bottleneck. Is that something that we've overcome yet? What about like your shooters? I know there was like last time I talked to Ishmael and yourself, like you mentioned, like you wanted your shooter to become a manager, but that's not just in his nature. He's not trying to be a manager. He's just trying to live the good life, and just have a job and, and make good money, but he's not trying to wear the crown and be the general and be the commander, for your army. Right. So where is your biggest challenge right now? And if you don't know, maybe we can identify that.
Hmm. Yeah, I think the last few months, our biggest challenge has been video editing for sure. Just finding good video editors and managing the team and getting the output that we want out of them, especially with a remote team. We've just found it really difficult to like build that rapport with them and create the culture, have them stick to expectations and deadlines, and also find people that were really motivated and like wanted to be part of a team and grow. That was tricky, and we found a couple good video editors, but it's still a problem for us. Um, it's been nice, finding videographers through my school or friends in the area because we, go on shoots together. We can connect. We go on team bondings, and like just that culture is created. And I think they really want to be a part of the team, and that's harder to cultivate with the remote staff. So that's been a big issue for us, specifically getting turnaround times down. Those have been like 5, 6 days, sometimes more for videos, and clients just they want their product faster. So that's been a big bottleneck for us. We're currently taking,
Let's talk
yeah,
about that. Is that,
yeah.
has that been solved for? Do you have a plan in place? Usually when it comes down to turnaround times being missed, you know, there's a few concepts that we need to play with. One is like, is your team the right size for however many edits are coming through? If you got 100 people that need to eat and you only got two people cooking pizza, you're gonna have a problem with people getting pizza right on time, and some people might be waiting 2 hours for a slice. It's the same concept with video editing. Do you have enough team for the bandwidth? And if you have enough team for the bandwidth, then we can unpack more questions and figure out your situation. So right now, like as it stands, do you have enough team for the bandwidth? And do you know why it's taking 5-6 days sometimes? Is it because they don't see it? Is it because they don't know about the deadline and it's not well assigned? Is it clear where the problem lies?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think we do have enough team for the bandwidth. We have three full-time video editors right now and one part-time, and we're only doing like 65 projects a month, and not all of those have videos. So, well, most of those do, but we do have enough team for it. We have taken steps actually recently to completely build out a system for the video editors, because Tonemo is great, but we just needed like kind of another system to like organize everything and just store information. So that is something that we are taking steps right now um, to work on. Hopefully, that can solve the problem for us. But I did have a question for you, kind of along these lines, and it's like right now I feel like we're in this stage of just adding heads and kind of this like linear growth. And I wanted to ask you, like, is that the model, just adding heads and growing in this kind of linear fashion where you add someone here and then you add someone over here and you're kind of like building the different pieces of the business? Or is there a model where you can have more leverage with the way you grow and kind of just grow in a more exponential way, either making more money per customer or just having your team be able to fulfill on more customers? But that was kind of a question that I had.
So when it comes to leverage, it really comes down to looking at where is it that you have the most skill and you have the most power. When I say power, I mean like how much is your time worth, right? How much is your value that you're creating in a certain department? Because when you choose to build out a video editing department and bring stuff in house, yes, you might save money, right? On the video editor, you might be able to get them for $10 an hour instead of 15 an hour. You might be able to develop them, but it requires you to spend your time that you otherwise could spend elsewhere, where you have more leverage and more power for your time, right? So if you're really good at business development, but you're not trying to, like when you choose to build video editing in house, you're choosing to build a business within a business. And you have to look at it as, is this our best opportunity? If I build it in house, how much more profits can I potentially generate from the business? How much can I save? And so if we were to do simple math, right, let's just say video editing is the value of the revenue tied to video editing is $100,000, right? Because your company is essentially paying your video editing department for these edits, and you're paying some form of fair market rates. If you were to pay fair market rates, each edit would be like $50 to $100 based off how well you're running your video editing department. How much profit are you producing? Like, hey, if we were to pay another company to do these edits for $100 an edit, we would end up paying $100,000 this year. If we did it in house, we could make 70. It would cost us 70,000. We effectively make 30,000, right? And when you choose to dive deep into that department and build that out, that is the potential, like revenue and profit you can generate from that department. On the other end of the spectrum, what else could you be doing with your time? Because in the time you spent building your video editing department, could you have closed 3 brokerage partnerships that would be worth, let's just say, $30,000 of profit? Because on every $100,000 brokerage revenue, you could make potentially 30,000. And with the time you spent building the video editing department, you could have closed 2 brokerages. that's where you have to look at leverage, right? Like, hey, what else could I be doing with my time? What is the opportunity cost? Because there's nothing wrong with building video editing in house, but what did that cost you of what else you could have done instead to generate profits, right? And so for me, I'm always looking at the highest leverage. For me, I don't I didn't care to bring video editing in house until I hit a certain point where I'm like, okay, that's a leverage point, where it makes sense for me to allocate resources to get that margin. And that's what you have to look at for every like single department. Is just like, is it worth it to just contract out because it's not a problem I'm looking to solve and pay a premium, until I get to a point where, hey, if we solve for this, it's $200,000 of video editing, and we stand to save and make $60,000 a year. That's definitely a problem I'm looking to spend, 6 months in solving. At your stage, it's questionable. Like, yeah, you're saving some money, but like video editing as a department might be worth 80K a year. You might be saving 20K. Shit, you could have sold like one brokerage and made the same amount, and could have just contracted with a more established team, and paid a premium, right, for shortcutting the time that you would have spent, which is also money and opportunity cost. Does that click for you?
Yeah, that does. That makes sense. So you're basically just saying like weigh the different options in terms of how much potential profit there is from like both these kind of two paths and just pick the one, like just do the math and pick the one that makes more sense.
Yeah, so there's like a mathematical way of looking at things, and then there's like a long-term cultural value add to your enterprise, value to your company, saying, hey, we have these editors in-house, they're with us. So there's a lot of inherent value in that. I think you didn't do a bad move per se. I think it's really smart to bring in video editing in-house once you break the 30K to 50K a monthly like revenue mark, just so you have a little bit more control. But just knowing that, hey, there's an opportunity cost of spending 2 to 3 months really sitting down with the editor that might be leading your team, developing them, putting the right incentives, putting in punishment, some sort of, like, not straight punishment, like you're not beating them up or anything, but like, hey, some sort of like consequences of if they don't do the
Right.
job, like, are they not eligible for a raise? Are you potentially, giving them unpaid time off for a week if they really have a gross, negligent type mistake? Um, and so having all those variables in check. But to answer your question, like, how do you gain leverage? You have to look at like what is your best opportunity and do the math behind it, right? Like,
Mm.
and know where your constraints are. Like, you might be like, oh, brokerages are our best opportunity. We can add, if we close these two brokerages, that's easily 100K each. Great. Can your team support it? Is the quality there to support the brokerage? Because if you're filling up an empty, leaky bucket, maybe you say, hey, we stand to make $30,000 on that 100, but if we don't keep the client, we stand to make zero. So if you average out, like, what is the expected chance of the quality you're producing, the service you're providing to be able to serve that brokerage or that big team at a high level, I would always put an expected value on it. Like, hey, we have the team and infrastructure in place to serve them at a B plus 80%. So like that $30,000 we stand to make with them, because they're doing this many shoots. And if they average this much per project, let's just say they do 100 listings a year, they average $1,000 per project, we stand to make 100,000 from them, right? And then you kind of reverse engineer the math there. It's like, okay, we stand to make, let's just say 20-30% on that. That's 20-30K of profit as a business owner. I would say there's a 20% chance we might not have them stick because of these factors. And that is, potentially going to, like, the expected value of that opportunity drops to from 20,000, 30,000 to maybe 15,000. And then,
Got it.
if you're like for certain, hey, if we fix video editing, that's a for sure 20,000. I would choose fixing the video editing over pursuing the brokerage. And that's kind of
Mm.
how I look at like where I'm attacking, and leveraging opportunities. And then on a larger note, like the best leverages that you can have, right, is marketing, right? Digitizing yourself and your message, team, right? Money allocation, capital allocation. Like, where can you spend $1,000 and get $5,000 of value, And you might have found that with ACRE Partner, you give us 1,000 in a month, and you get SOPs, trainings for your team, shortcuts, clarity that would cost you essentially $5,000 to
Yeah.
have to scramble and organize for yourself. So, you know, that's all ways you can gain leverage from an agency perspective. And then also software, which I know you're leveraging with Monday, with Tonimo. So you're already doing well
Yeah.
there, but it's about like, to what degree can you optimize it further and measure it, right? If you're not measuring it, you can't optimize it. And so
Yeah.
the question is like, whatever you're trying to fix, how are you measuring it currently, and what do you define as success, in terms
Yeah.
of improving that? And that's when
That
you can
makes
start
sense.
defining things. That's when you can start, getting more leverage. If you can say, hey, anytime we put in $1,000 on ads, we're getting this many book calls, and those book calls on average lead to one customer being worth $5,000. You can start doing the math. Okay, hey, we put $1,000 of ad spend, we get 10 booked meetings. Out of those booked meetings, 3 of them close, right? So it's costing you roughly $300 per meeting. Of those clients, each one of those clients end up spending $3,000 with you over the course of a year. Okay, so you're spending $1,000 to get, let's just say, 10K of revenue over the course
Right.
of a year. The lifetime
Right.
value is more. Is that
That
worth
makes
it?
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you look at the break even, right? You look at the break even, like, okay, if we're running a net 20% margin business, that means if it costs us 1,000 to acquire 10,000 and our profit is 2,000, it'll take us 6 months to truly break even on that ad spend and start seeing surplus, right? And then if you make decisions like that, you can be like, okay, shit, we got $5,000 and we got a team that can handle $50,000 more shoots, and we got the quality. Let's just pump the ad spend, or let's just pump the cold calls, because you can actually measure it.
Yep. Yeah. That totally makes sense. I think that resonates a lot, and that's something that Hormozy talks about a lot, with like just basically doing the math, and like if you can trade $1,000 for $2,000, like you're gonna take that trade every time and just do as much of it as you can. I kind of have a big picture question. I really want to get into the mind of Brendan and how you go about like scaling companies and growing successful businesses. I think there's so much
A
out there.
thought for the last one before you
Yeah.
move on to this big picture question. For the people that are listening and for yourself, you have to truly understand your numbers. A lot of people are like, oh, my
Mm.
margins are 70%. I'm like, no, it's not, because you're not paying yourself as an employee. What are your margins as an owner? That's your true margins, right? And some people aren't doing the math. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna spend $5,000 producing this production, um, that we're getting paid $8,000 on. Great, your margins are $3,000, but how much did it take to acquire that opportunity? What are the liabilities if it goes wrong? Because I've had someone dent a fridge, a brand new mini fridge, and that cost me $1,200 out of pocket for a fucking mini fridge because it's a nice one, right? Like, because he was literally sitting on a counter and his heel went into it, and then boom, he dented the mini fridge, and they wanted us to just buy a new one and not replace the thing because they were trying to sell the house. So like, you got to look at all of these other factors, because the noob entrepreneur is not looking at those factors as a business owner, saying, hey, what is our true cost on each thing? Because I've also ran a poor business at one point in my life where I sold a $10,000 production, and I told my team to spend the entire budget, and they thought they could spend $10,000 on the budget, on the whole production. And I'm like, bro, do you not know I pay you $5K and I pay the other guy $6K a month? Did you account for that in the budget? Did you account for, like, what we have to pay our sales team for the commission on the 1,000 and their base salary? Because if we were trying to stay in budget here, the real budget is $4,000 in addition to paying your salaries and the sales team's time. So you really got to look at it from a holistic perspective, because the noob agency owner is just like, yeah, I'm making money, right? And then they're just spending it without actually really looking at the finer details on their profit and loss of like, what is each department actually costing. And if you don't know, at least average it out. You have your profit and loss on $50,000. If Ismail's only job is sales and it's 5K, right, is what he's getting paid, Sales and marketing is costing you 10% on every deal. So even if you sell a $5,000 deal, $500 is automatically deducted away from the budget and the profits, because that's going towards paying the salesperson. And so there's math behind everything. And we actually have that cash flow projections workshop that you can easily access if you want to like just at least understand your P&Ls on a monthly.
Got it. Super helpful. I definitely agree with like the whole just like knowing your numbers, because that's been a big thing for us. Is the first like 8 months in business, we had no idea what our numbers were, and we weren't making money, and we were wondering why. Because we had no idea how much we were actually spending on anything, and it's like you're completely in the dark. Like I remember just like literally feeling like I don't even know if we should take this project or not take this project, because I don't know if we're gonna make money on it. Like we just did not know. And then I've been running the numbers for the last like 8 months, and then finally last week, because of you, we hired a great bookkeeper who's gonna actually get us to the next level of having
Yeah,
clarity.
and not to scare everyone, like including yourself, like knowing numbers is definitely important, but there is an intuitive side of scaling up a business. Hey, budgeting 15% for editing. That's a rule of thumb. If you're budgeting more, you're probably spending over, what you should, unless you really want this edit to be fuego and it's a portfolio piece. Sure, budget more. But if you're trying to scale up a solution, 15% for editing, 30% for shooting, 35% max, 50% if you just need to get the job done, to like pay someone because you don't want to turn down the business and, it's a client that you want to build a relationship with and you just need to send someone. There's rules of thumb, right? Hey, for sales, 25% paid out as commission for the first time opportunity for someone who's commission only, and 10%, 15% max reoccurring for sales to maintain the account and maintain the relationship, because you're running maybe a net 30% business and you're down to allocate 50 half of that towards sales and growth, right? And so there's all these little rules of thumb that you can't, as long as you kind of understand the rules of thumb or just talk to me about like, hey, is this roughly what we should be spending? There's an intuitive side of things. Most businesses, it's like, don't spend more than 10% on marketing, right? That's your budget for marketing for the year is 10% of your revenue. Okay. And then really break that down. What is going towards marketing? Is it ad spend? Is it a new website? Is it, potentially uh, creating some dope content and behind the scenes and like more social media reels? Okay. Now that we know that, have you looked at how much you're truly budgeting for that? Between your time, Ishmael's time, how much you spend on the new website that I think you guys spent, a good amount getting a new website built out. Okay. Is that 10%? And it's okay to be over budget. If you're in growth mode, yeah, budget 15, 20%, right? Break even at the end of the year, because that's going to lead to $1.4 million in 2026. That's okay. But you got to get clear with like, okay, we're intentionally spending 15% of our revenue on marketing and sales because we know that that's worth doing to build the enterprise value, and all of
Right.
our other margins are in check. We're not spending more than 35% on paying our shooters. We're not spending more than 15% on our editors. Okay, now the cost of goods
And is
between
that top
editing and
line?
shooting, yeah,
The
of
15
top
and
line,
35?
yeah,
Okay.
of your revenue, right? And so
Got it.
those are general rules of thumb. If you end up spending more than 40%, is it because you have a team member on salary that can shoot more projects and you just need to get more shoots, right? That's like the intuitive math behind it for those who don't want to like write down and calculate every number every month, which is also a good thing to do. But like some people don't have the time. And so there's rules of thumbs that you can follow for scaling that can like that I followed to get to our first 100K a month, because I knew that if I paid my creatives less than 30% for shooting and my editors less than 20%, had 50% left to scale with between marketing and sales and systems and operations.
Yeah. Sweet. That's really good info. I think those rules of thumb are good to know as well. Do you mind if we jump into some kind of big picture
Yeah, let's do it.
questions? Okay. Sweet. So I guess there's a lot of different things that you hear out there, right? Like invest in your people, and the focus should be like your team and your people, or sales cures all, or whatever that expression is, or product comes first, right? Like just focus on the product, and the business will come. And there's all these different like frames for looking at business and like how you grow, and it can be kind of confusing, especially for a new agency owner. I remember in the very beginning, I like was very into business and reading all these books, and I felt like there were so many different things. I had no idea. Like, do I focus on product? Do I focus on sales? Do I focus on building a team? Do I focus on buying back my time? Like, so what would you say is your approach when starting a company and scaling a company that you take? And what's kind of like the 80/20 that you use to determine like what is your primary focus going to be?
Mm, good question. The most important thing is the business model and the offer.
Okay.
If you have a shitty business model where you make 10% margins because you're trying to be a budget, provider, and you want to overpay your employees, you can't scale 10% margins. Like you barely have enough to feed yourself as an owner, right? Usually you can scale like 30-40% margins, and they get compressed to 10-20% once you scale up to 2 million, and 10% on 2 million ain't too bad. It's still 200K, right?
Hmm.
So that's kind of the concept. Like, yeah, there's margin compression, but the offer is the most important. The offer is the most important thing to look at with any sort of business. How does your offer stand in the competitive marketplace? Do you deliver slightly better quality, better exposure, better reach, better client experience? Because if you can be 10% better, you are Chick-fil-A all of a sudden, right? Chick-fil-A is nothing crazy. They just do customer service 20% better. Their chicken is 20% crispier and fresher. Their, like the speed to, deliver the actual, like food in your hand is maybe 1 minute faster than your average fast food restaurant. Like, boom, all of a sudden you have a business that can take a lot of market share because you're just 10% better across the board. The iPhone isn't nothing extraordinary at this point. When it first came out, it was, but if you compare it to an Android, it's not even better on some of the stats in terms of memory and like the drive, but it's better overall as an ecosystem, right? It's got a better app store. It's got more high paying users because they built a brand, and they use the high paying users to drive more developers to go into developing for the app store, right? And they created this self fulfilling loop of like better apps equals more users, more premium apps and experience equals more expensive, um, like clients, or like clientele that are willing to spend more on apps. And it's a self-fulfilling loop where the average person owning an iPhone is worth twice, three times as much as the person that would buy an Android, because they've created a brand, a moat, a able to price on a premium, because of the like upward looping effects, the upward cycle that it's been able to build, right?
Mm.
And you got to look at your business the same way. Are you creating from your investments in your client service, your client like services and operations, your editing, your shooting? Are you making the investments to be 5, 10, 20% better, and then tweaking your offer to have it be a little bit more sexy, where it's just like, you know, you look at it from, do you like Tesla? I just want to make sure I make
Yeah.
good analogies,
Yeah.
right? At some point, there's a tipping point where it's just like, damn, that's a fucking good fucking purchase. When Tesla first came out, it was a $65,000-$70,000 car. Only rich people could afford it. It had good features, but it was still like the trim wasn't perfect. And they had to keep building towards now the Model 3 for $30,000, $20,000 used. You can get a car that costs you 1/4 in terms of maintenance and ownership. Like, you can charge, instead of paying for gas, you can just charge it overnight. You're saving 70% on gas. The shit can drive itself, like giving you your time back. On top of that, like I don't want to get political, but I love Elon, and like there's that brand behind it. Now Tesla's in higher demand than ever, even though the media is saying how, like, don't own a Tesla, you can't get insured, people are burning it down. They're trying to throw that gas on, like trying to shame Tesla for doing something wrong, when Elon's like cutting all these bullshit spending and deficits, that we have. So I think there's a lot going for Tesla, and because it's got that incremental improvement in every degree, right? Self-driving wasn't quite there yet. Now it's very close. The range wasn't there yet. It went from 250 mile per hour range to now 350, and that's super ideal for most people. The price went from 600, like 70, 80,000 to now being a $20,000 to $30,000 car. You can even, lease it for $250 a month. It's gotten to a point where the whole market is just like, sign me up, right? And so when you're building an agency, you got to figure out what you're building, though. What is your offer, right? Because every offer can work. It just, you got to pick one and you got to stick with it. You can't be Lamborghini and trying to sell to broke agents, right? And compromising for yourself. So you got to pick a lane. What is your brand? What is your offer? What is your category? If your category is something like aerial canvas, our goal was to be the Tesla, right, of our industry, right? To be a more mass market product that was just a great value overall. The customer service is there. The quality is there. The consistency is there. The reliability is there. And that's all we needed to scale to $4 million a year. And we had a great offer in the beginning, and we stuck to it. And it's up to you as an agency owner to figure out how you can continue tweaking your offer
What
to
was your
drive
offer
down.
in the beginning?
So before Aerial Canvas started, to get drone, you had to hire a drone guy. To get Matterport, you had to find someone who had owned a Matterport. And to shoot video, like half the photographers didn't shoot video. We were actually the ones that pioneered the equivalent of an iPhone in San Francisco Bay for real estate media, which is iPhone is camera, MP3 player, phone, note-taking app, web browser, all in one. When it came out, it blew people's mind. They're like, shit, I didn't know that was possible, right? Before there was like a clicky keyboard, smaller screen, all these things. And it was a big leap, right? And so your goal as an agency owner is to find ways that you can create an unfair advantage by adopting innovation. Why? Because you get to benefit from the economies of scale without having to put the R&D into innovation, right? AI photo to video costs several hundreds of thousands of dollars to develop a platform to provide a seamless experience. You can just plug into that and license it for, a fraction of the cost of developing on your own. But your goal is to be the implementer, right? To take the solutions and get it to your clients, because in many ways, that's what you are as an agency. That's what an agency does, is you find the solutions and you give it to your clients, right? And you kind of are a middleman, but you're more of a business middleman where you've properly created the systems, the solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And so your goal is to constantly do that. So for Aerial Canvas, we were the first companies that offered photos, video, drone, Matterport, website for as little as $800 per listing. And that is something that when we started doing it was taking the industry by storm. We didn't even have to hire a sales team, even though we had a sales team and we scaled up a sales team, because the agents were telling other agents about how good the deal is, right? When the iPhone came out, it was so good that you didn't actually need to market it besides doing a keynote on it, because it sold itself. People wanted it. People lined up for it. People were like, I need that. It got sold out, right? And people started lining up for it every time it came out. So your goal is to create a product that sells itself. And that's where people say, focus on a product that it will sell itself. But, when you're starting an agency in a space where it is a little bit saturated, there's a lot of copycats. There's a lot of young videographers that are trying to make money with their camera. And you need to focus on, what does my client want? How does this benefit my client? And creating a solution that gives them an unfair advantage, which thus gives you an unfair advantage, right? Imagine this, right? This is an offer that I'm experimenting with, and I'm trying to help see the light of day. Some agency owners have done it because they have organically a really strong social media presence, and every time they do a collaborative post, the agents are able to get 50K views, 100K views, right? That is a hard thing to achieve organically because it takes time, but you can actually manufacture the result based off obviously JT and Jacob, and we've been sharing like how to rehook and how to obviously edit for a very social oriented reel, that gets people's eyeballs. So organically that might do better. That might get 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 views. But at the end of the day, agents are looking for more business. And if you can confidently say, hey, when you book the premier package with us, you're guaranteed like 10,000 views in your local area, where there might be neighbors that see the property, there might be other agents that see the property on social media. By putting $200 of ad spend, that could be the new offer, right? Where you can guarantee a result. That guaranteed result can be a competitive advantage, where now you can be like, hey, agent, imagine like when you go into listing presentation, you can say, hey, anytime we do this premier package, you're guaranteed 50,000 eyeballs locally. And that just
That
costs you
would be
50.
huge. Like,
All that costs you is $500, and you just need to tweak your offer and say, and then like offer to manage their ads, offer to, have that add on where that's something that matters to them, that drives a result that they can sell in the listing presentation to win the listing, and be like, hey, you work with us.
yep.
Our marketing team is going to guarantee you 50,000 like views on this listing of local eyeballs. And it's really not hard. You just do a radius targeting in Google, in Meta, and then boost it on the back end on a web browser, so you're not paying the 30% fees. And that itself is a great offer, which, I've told Aerial Canvas this, and I've told ACRE Seattle, and the strategies are there. It's just all about execution, right? And if you can execute on that, that's why I started a mastermind. Is like, who can execute the fastest? Maybe you can go execute at Aerial Canvas for me, and I'll pay you a salary on top of, what you're already making. So that's kind of the concept of like innovation and having an amazing offer. You got to look ahead of like knowing what the market wants before they even know they want it, right? Because no one likes change. No one wants to be like, yeah, sign me up for change. Yeah, sign me up for new system. Sign me up for this. And your ability to make money is your ability to forecast the demand for this change, right? Imagine being the ones that started setting up cell phone stores to sell cell phones. You didn't even have to make the cell phones. You just had to sell the cell phones, and you could be the AT&T and Verizon reseller. And those people made buku bucks for like 5-10 years because they caught the wave of like, hey, smartphones, they're the next big thing. Like, we want to be selling them. We want to be selling these plans. And now it's saturated. So your goal as a business owner is always to catch on the next wave. And the wave sometimes is external, where it's an offer to your clients, or it's internal, like AI photo editing, where you can cut costs and drive profits, right? And you just need the faster you can adopt good innovation, even when it's not perfect, the faster you are going to be the one that can capture more market share, right? And a case in point is AI photo editing. I knew it was the next big thing, right? I didn't know who it was going to be. For all I knew, Matt was going to be a bust, and he wasn't going to be able to deliver. But I still bet on him because I'm still placing my bets, knowing, hey, this is the future. I still need to bet on this innovation. And sometimes you can take bigger bets and you can go all in, and you can even invest when you're at a point where you have $500,000. You can, take 20% equity, even own 50% equity of some new ventures. But at your stage, the secondary way of investing and getting those internal benefits of innovation and those 10%, 20% gains is to adopt and license big tech, right? Monday.com obviously is an efficiency gain. Tonemo, there's $1 million of innovation going to Tonemo every single year, right? Like you don't have to build an R&D team. They're innovating for you. Auto HDR, yeah, it's not quite there yet, but you adopt it, and in 2 years that's going to give you a competitive edge because you're already on it, and you're not like, okay, let's finally switch. And so, there's obviously an appetite for making these switches because they can be a little bit volatile to your team and workflow. But you got to look at it from a math perspective, right? We already outlined that you're spending easily $3,000-$4,000 a month on photo editing. If we can cut that bill down to $2,000 and give you same day turnaround on photos, that's going to give you an edge for your clients, saying, hey, you want to list, we can list same day and get you on. We can have Rev shoot it Saturday, and it's ready to go Saturday night on the photos, right? And so all these things, like, they compound, right? They're 10, 20, 30% tweaks that end up giving you, are you the iPhone or are you the Android? Are you the Chick-fil-A or are you the McDonald's? Or not, McDonald's isn't even that bad. Or are you the Arby's, right? Like, and both are very successful businesses and you can get to multiple millions, but do you want to create an 8-figure enterprise or do you want to create a 7-figure enterprise? Because 7-figure enterprises are easy to create. Like, they're really not hard. Like, the average person, I'm not to like rip on them, but like, they're not hustling, they're not working the extra 5 hours to get ahead, they're not
Agreed.
studying, they're not in a mastermind. It's so easy to get ahead of 95% of the population. And even
Yep.
the 5% of the population, like, all you got to do is join a mastermind and actually put in an extra 20 hours of work, and you're already in the top 1% of hustlers, and you're already destined for 7 figures. So like, when I met you guys, I knew you guys had the hustle for 7 figures. That's why I gave you the free sales training from the get. I'm like, here's the tribute to just show you guys, like, I'm not just trying to sell you on something right off the gate.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully that clicks with you. It's just like, there's no legendary, like, magic pill, but if I were to work on any business, Market U, Auto HDR, Tonimo, Outsource Plug, ACRE Partner, I'm always looking at the offer first. Where's the price point? Where's the value I can create? Is this something that will get other people talking about, like, hey, the value here is insane, right? ACRE Partner, dude, when I started coaching with Bronson and Matt, it was just, they get to talk to me for 2 hours, 3 hours a month, and they pay me $2,000 off the rip, whatever. There is no group workshops where you can invite your team and they can get trained. There was no white label assets. Maybe there was a few, I passed them over from Aero Canvas, but it wasn't structured as well as it is now. Obviously, it can be structured even better. There was no in-person mastermind events. And now I've dropped the price of ACRE Partner to $1,000 a month, and I've increased the value 5-fold. And that's your goal of doing business, is like, how do you gain leverage? And leverage is in the form of, digitizing your product. What can you digitize? What can you virtualize? What can you automate? What can you, like, eliminate, delegate, like, all these things that give you efficiency gains. And so you're doing it already. Tonimo is a play, right? You're not scrambling and trying to create your own Tonimo in Monday, which is what I did at Aero Canvas before Tonimo existed. We were running 800 projects through Monday.com, with 50 team members and 30 columns. Like, Monday froze.
Crazy.
Like, literally, we called Monday. We're like, can you, like, they're like, we just sped up the platform. It should be 100% faster. I'm like, it's still frozen though. They're like, 200% faster was still frozen for us.
That's crazy. Wow. So much value. All really.
Does that click for you? Like, all of that?
Yeah.
Like, I want to make sure, like, and so, like, as an entrepreneur, your goal isn't to, do, like, yes, occasionally there's revolutionary tech, AI photo to video. You guys should just try it, innovate on it, give it away, buy it, give it away, just to see the taste, or see if it's in the taste preferences of your clients. And some things you just got to adopt for your clients before it's a thing. Matterport, dude, I know, Matterport's getting ripped on for, like, predatory charging, like, pricing strategies, and, like, not being the best company to work with. And they are, in my opinion, still, like, one of the best in class technologies for virtual tours. When we first bought the Matterport, no one asked us, hey, do you have Matterport? Can you scan a Matterport for us? No one asked us. Zero. Right? Colby literally took, like, I wasn't even there. Colby took a leap of faith and saying, this is the future. People are going to start wanting it. And now we sell Matterport on over 40% of our listings. Right? And it easily, yeah, sure, we pay Matterport $50K a year or something fucking crazy. But yeah, we easily make $300,000, $400,000 from selling Matterport as a solution.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to get out of your comfort zone and be an early adopter for some of these things and take some risk, because I can tell you, I've definitely flopped. I've definitely, like, hey, let's pilot this solution. Hey, let's pilot these ads. Let's do this. And then sometimes it's bad timing. Sometimes the market's not ready for it.
Yeah. I love what you're saying though about, like, taking that risk and, like, trying to find solutions for your clients that they don't even know they want yet or they don't even know exist, because I feel like that has like, clients don't necessarily know what the best things are to do to market their properties.
They definitely
Um,
don't, dude. They definitely
yeah,
don't. You know, the average agent has no idea of how to market a property well on the media side. And that's why they hire us. And the more we can position ourselves as consultants, the more we can charge for the value we bring to them because we're doing
yeah,
half of their job.
yeah, 100%. So I have a kind of final question for you. Um, if you were in my shoes right now, and I feel like this will be very helpful for me as well as any other agency owners watching, if you were in my position with everything you know about our business, what would you do today, this year, or today, this month, and this year to grow us from where we are now to say double or triple our revenue? What are the steps that you're going to take?
Um, Always identify your biggest constraint. You know, what is stopping you from being able to hit 100K? If you have the team in place, then it's just more business, more revenue. You know, there's really two sides of the equation. There's, you know, supply and demand, shooters and clients, editors and clients, right? Bandwidth for customer service and clients. If you can solve for this, you just got to solve for the other. If the other is
Mm,
in high demand, you just solve for the other. And you don't need to complicate it. And you make 10, 20% improvements in each one. And then all of a sudden, like your seesaw goes from being like this to like, oh, okay, this is a very smooth cruise ship now. You know, and that's what Aero Canvas
mm,
is. You know, like our demand is more predictable. Our shooters, like it's not chaotic. Like even if two shooters call out, we have like 10 shooters, but over time it stabilizes. Another thing for you and for like other agency owners is surround yourself with people that are doing better than you. I'm part of a mastermind and there's I think 17 people doing $1 million a month, right? And I'm doing well, you know, like I'll tell people I on paper I made probably close to $700,000-800,000 last year, you know, personally. And I reinvested a lot into the businesses that I own, like Market U, and got some equity in some new ventures. But more importantly, I put myself in a the biggest harm, the biggest disservice you can do to yourself as an individual is to not take care of yourself as your best employee. And if you're your own
mm.
best employee, wouldn't you want them to go into personal development? Wouldn't you want to hire them a coach for their health? Wouldn't you want them to be in the best shape so they can come to work? Wouldn't you want them to have clarity on like where they can go with their business? And so to the agency owners out there trying to do it themselves, if your team is looking at you for all that, who do you have in your ring? And I'm not here shamelessly just selling ACRE Partner. Join any mastermind. Find any mentor. Find an agent that's very successful that's built a team to ask questions around because they're more than happy to mentor you. You know, especially if they can get slightly better pricing. You know, or whatever. Right? You guys can do a trade. You guys can grab lunch every month and for a free reel or something. Right? And so find mentorship because the best athletes have 5 coaches. The best entrepreneurs have a board, have multiple consultants they hire in. And for you to want to figure everything out on YouTube, I fucking hate YouTube because it gives me so many ideas and no clarity on like how to execute. And it's like these are good
Yeah.
ideas, but I need someone hand holding or doing it with me. I'm down to pay, you know. I'm about to sign up for AI calling service for, you know, it's 500 5,000 $6,000 up front. I just signed like the mastermind I'm part of is 4,000 a month, right? I just hired a sales coach that was 12 grand for 3-4 months, like earlier last year. And I'm constantly investing because that is the best fucking investment I've ever made.
Mm,
Why? Because if I don't, I'm a lazy motherfucker watching Netflix and my stocks go up and down and scrolling Reddit and Instagram all day mindlessly because I'm not surrounding myself with killers and taking an obligation and a duty saying, hey, I've signed up for this. I want to get a return on my investment. I hired a team. I want to make sure that they're fed. When you start building a team, you have a fucking duty to dream so big that their dreams can fit within yours. And if
Mm.
you do not do that, you're not worthy of having a team. You're not worthy of getting seven figures if you're not showing up in that way for your business. And when they start leaving you and starting their own businesses and starting to work for other companies, you just got to look at yourself in the faces. I didn't do enough to keep them. Right. And that's happened to me. And that drives me. Whenever I lose an employee that's a good employee, I don't ask, hey, I'm not like, oh, fuck you, bro. Good luck. I'm saying, dude, that's fucking awesome. You deserve that opportunity. That's huge. I'm so glad I could be a platform to help you get to there. And I couldn't be a platform that could keep you here so you can drive all that value. Because all those people that left Aerial Canvas, I'm just going to name names. Erwin, he's easily doing 20, 30, 40K on a good month. And he was our manager at one point. We just didn't do enough to keep him around. That's on me. That's on Colby. That's on Sean. That's on the leadership team there, whoever was in charge back then, Matt. Dean, he was leading our production department, and we were doing decent. He was making decent money. He was getting paid six figures. That's good. That's not bad, right? But his dreams were bigger. And unfortunately, my dreams and what I was willing to give wasn't enough to keep him in the mix. And he is now shooting $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 productions for LinkedIn and Google for one weekend.
Wow.
One weekend, he's getting
Wow.
paid out 30K.
Wow.
If I had given him 50% equity of that department, maybe I would have had all that business and I would be better off. And so, equity, money, it's not meant for you to hoard. It's meant for you to, to move. Right.
Mm.
I don't know if you ever met like a millionaire, but he has money, but he's very stingy, right? His energy is weird, and he's just like, he doesn't even want to like tip well. I think that's fucked up. The more money
Yeah.
you have, the more you should be willing to spend it. And that's a reminder to myself. Like, I'm saying this, and I'm hoarding definitely a good amount of Bitcoin. Obviously, that's a
Yeah.
vehicle I
Yeah.
believe
I mean,
in.
that's a great reminder though, to like, I love that you're saying money and equity is not to hoard, but it's really meant to move and to grow. I feel like that's a really good lesson, that it's easy to slip into that scarcity mindset and be like, I need to hold on to every dollar. But like, really, I love the way you're talking about that. I think that's a good reminder for all of us.
Yeah. Well, I know
Yeah.
you given me the platform to definitely give a strong message, hopefully, and hopefully others receive it as well. Hopefully, you got clarity on like, what do I do to double my business, dude? It's not
Yeah.
rocket science, dude. Surround yourself with the best people, the people in abundant mindset, the people that are innovating, for you, with you. Um, Take chances, fail forward, calculated risks, obviously. Don't like be like, oh, we're all in on AI and just fucking send it. And then all of a sudden your clients are like, hey, what's up with these weird edits? Like actually,
Yeah. Yeah.
do things right. And then I think the most important thing I can leave any founder with is figure out your North Star. What do you want to be, and make decisions around the North Star, right?
Mm.
If your North Star is you want a $2 million agency, right, which is cool, there's a number. Every decision you make should be getting you faster to that North Star as fast as possible, right? If you're like, hey, should we hire this person? Is that person getting you closer to the 2 million? If so, can you afford them? If so, yes, go. Let's go.
Yeah.
Take the risk,
Yeah.
right?
That makes a lot of sense.
And obviously, it needs to be calculated. Like you can't be hiring 3 photographers when you don't have three photographers worth of shoots. You got to slowly build up. And then the most important message I can leave anyone with is find what brings you joy. You've heard that cliche saying, hey, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, right? It's so true, man. Like, there's things I hate, and the things you hate, you should delegate as fast as possible. And the things you love, really embrace it, right? Don't be above it. The best CEOs, they're the best salesmen. They didn't hire a salesman to replace them. They sell. Some of the biggest marketing agencies, biggest consulting firms, the CEO, the partners, they're the ones bringing in the most deals. So don't be the CEO like me in the past saying, hey, I hired a sales team. I'm no longer selling. I'm selling the most now. You see the
Yeah.
deals. You see the people in Austin. I brought yes, I have team members that helped, but I bring in more than half the clients at all the deals that I'm a part of. Market you for video editing, like aerial canvas, even to date, like some of the biggest clients there I sold, and I'm proud of that. And I will always continue selling because I love selling. And if you really want to be a 7-figure like entrepreneur, you have to be selling. Even if it's not hard sales, you got to sell the person who loves selling to sell for you, right? And that's what Matt did with me. Matt at Auto HDR is like, you love selling. I see you fucking marketing yourself every single day. You're putting out more and more content. You sell for me. I'll invest with you. I'll give you some revenue share. And when you put your best self out there, because it's your ideal self, it's the self that you love, it's the best version of yourself. You're not doing shit you hate, right? If you hate fucking accounting, yeah, you're gonna show up to work fucking procrastinating, with a bad attitude. Fuck this day, I
Yeah.
gotta fucking deal with
Yeah.
numbers. Yeah, you're gonna end up rubbing off that negative energy to, your team. And so do what brings you joy every day, and you rub off the right energy, right?
Yeah.
And
That's
find
huge.
someone to replace you for the things you don't like to do that you need to do. So I'm trying to delegate as much stuff that I don't like to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to do everything. Don't get me wrong. Like I like numbers even, but I definitely don't like the nitty gritty. I definitely hire someone for that. So hopefully that message clicks with you, and just do what you love.
100%. I think there were some like huge unlocks there for me. And I think part of it too is just like knowing that like we're on the right path and just have to stay patient because it's so easy to like get really impatient and like, when you're really ambitious and you want those like that growth and just you want to see those numbers, like it's easy to just get impatient and like get distracted, but like just staying focused and like staying patient, I think is definitely a big reminder for me right now. And also just working on everything that you're saying, delegating, building the team, doing what I love doing, and just kind of continuing to stack on every piece of the business, continue to improve. Yeah.
100%. And yeah, just build for the long term, build sustainably, right? There's always that quick cash grab. You can totally get a client to pay you maybe another 1,000, but are you doing right by them? You can totally stiff, a employee that went all in with your business on a couple of hours, but are you going the long way with them? Are you trying to truly invest? And then sustainability is a key thing that I need to learn more myself. And I always say these things as a reminder, right? Like health, right? I'm trying to give way more emphasis on my health and just find a way. We're smart. We're all smart human beings, and we know these things. And sometimes the beauty of a mastermind, the beauty of colleagues that are operating at the same level is just a friendly reminder, and that itself is worth its weight in gold, right? And that's why I love being part of the masterminds I'm in. I love, like you talk to Harmozis and you talk to these legendary like salespeople, and it's crazy how much they just say like, let's reinforce the basics. And that's exactly what like I hope to provide
Yeah.
you a platform to do. It's just like every day, you can reinforce the basics with us. Every time you're feeling rusty on sales and you need some, encouragement to pick up the phone, or some just like some people to do it with and vibe out with and be like, oh yeah, I'm dealing with those types of rejections too.
Yep. Yep.
Hop into
That
your
was huge.
workshop. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. To anyone out there who's not joined ACRE, just sign up today. Don't even like look at the bank account. Just sign up. Do it. It's worth it. um, the the mastermind was so huge for us and like just like totally changed our business. And we met so many amazing people that I'm still in touch with. It's just cool. Like I actually made good friends there and such a strong community as well. Um, Brendan, I have to run to a shoot, but thank you so much for your time and for all the amazing info and insight and everything. I think it was really helpful for me, and I hope this was helpful to other agency owners watching as well.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you for providing the platform equally, and good luck with the shoot. And we'll catch you in the community. And we're doing the next mastermind in SoCal, so bring your
We'll
whole
be there.
team. We're gonna have better pricing for group rates for team
Sweet.
member, like
Yeah,
for
I would love to
you to
bring
bring your
some of
whole
our team.
team. Awesome. We'll talk soon, brother.